I can't believe I'm about to say this, but in a few short months, this show right here, Uzaki-Chan Wants to Hang Out, or Uzaki-Chan wa Asobitai, is going to turn 5 years old as of me talking about this video. So, Uzaki-Chan Wants to Hang Out. This is a anime series that came out back in the summer of the 2020 season by ENGI Studios, which, if you remember the show, how big it was, how polarizing the show was, this show came out at a really interesting time period because obviously the summer 2020, I'm pretty sure everyone remember what was going on during that time period, or some people want to forget about it. But that year was the horrible year that the pandemic era was beginning, and a lot of people were locked down. There was nowhere to go, nothing to do. But for the very few folks that had the chance to watch 12 episodes of the show, this show came out at a really interesting time period because the summer 2020, if you don't remember what came out that year, that year came out with some pretty big shows to come out during this time period. You had ReZero season 2 that was coming out, Kanjuro Karishimasu, which was the most talked about show for all the wrong, controversial, right reasons at the time. The God of High School, which at the time when it came out was touted as the best anime of the year, and boy almighty, it failed so miserably at it. There's even the start of Fire Force season 2, if I'm not mistaken, and there's even the Misfits of DBK Academy, which was at the time when I remember watching the first season was one of my favorite trash animes to come out of that year. And we also had the final season of the love comedy anime, which is with its final season concluding, it definitely was like one of the most iconic, most talked about shows to come out of that year. But out of these big shows that came out of the summer 2020 stands a little show called Uzaki-chan. Now, believe it or not, this show was definitely super hyped and developed for a myriad of reasons. One being that the trailer was like super raunchy, really out there. Two, there was a lot of controversy surrounding the show from the very beginning because of the fact that the character was of a certain age demographic. More specifically, she was in like the college age gap, and there was some controversy with Hana Uzaki, which is the character of the show, being that like she's 19 years old, but she has this big busty size and she's super short. And as a result, a lot of people were commenting and trying to debate as to, like, why was the show so big and popular? This is inaccurate. This is not what girls are like, and all this other stuff about the human anatomy. And it was a pretty big mess, to say the least. Now, despite all the controversy that came out of the way with Uzaki-chan right out of the gate, this show was still talked about the for all 12 episodes. And believe me, I remember watching this show. I even saw some clips of it as of late, and I decided to really want to go dive deep into how big the show was. So I will say though, kind of a bit of a spoiler that 5 years later, I think Uzaki-chan has definitely aged in a really poor manner, and I can see why. Because for one, this show has undoubtedly created like this big wave of generic teasing anime to come out in the wake of this show being big and popular as it was. Now, not to say that this show was the first teasing anime to really come out the gate swinging. I mean, if we're talking about like what is the most popular teasing anime series that's still ongoing, still talked about to this day, I think you could look no further than the Teasing Master Takagi-san anime, which came out a couple years prior to Uzaki-chan. And believe it or not, this series here has spawned two seasons and I believe a couple of movies, and is still talked about and is still beloved to this day. However, the same cannot be said with Uzaki-chan, as many did not like the show. Some were even some manga readers at the time were even more pissed off because shows there are other shows at the time that show got the anime adaptation treatment before Uzaki-chan. Some have argued that Ijiro Night and Nagatoro-san should get the anime treatment first, or even the Komi-san anime, which was again, two shows respectfully that should have got the anime adaptation treatment first before Uzaki-chan. But I think given the fact that these two shows came out in their respective time periods, it was really a matter of time till both of them eventually get it and would see much bigger success than Uzaki-chan did at the time period right off the gate. And what's even funny to me to think about is that this studio, NJ Studios, is a studio that is fresh off the block, brand spanking new, and it's kind of interesting that they really came out the bat swinging with Uzaki-Chan. And if you fast forward to what their latest release was, they just dropped Medalist, which was an anime that came out in the winter 2025 season recently, which I definitely gotta give a shot now because this is apparently like for what everyone I've been hearing in all the forums, this is going down as like one of the most underrated animes come out of 2025. And it's kind of interesting that that all of this to get to where they're at now from this show all started from Uzaki-chan. And again, I guess if you want to know more about details like what the show's all about, what it's all going for, it's essentially about Uzaki-chan wants to hang out her best friend and all the weird shenanigans they can, while simultaneously just teasing his her best friend in ways of like, oh, so you like me and want to have sex with me type of stuff. And the premise just runs throughout these 12 episodes except for one of the episodes, which I think it was the 10th episode, where they try to break the fourth wall by being implanted into the real world in Japan, which was cool for its time period, but not so much in the grander scheme of things. And obviously, certain situations, certain scenarios of the show kind of got elevated to a fever pitch high with the humor, with the satire, thanks to the likes of Amiya side that always likes to mess things around, and even Itsuhito Sakaki, which is one of the main protagonist's best friends. So even though this show was really good, really popular for its time, I definitely remember that when this show concluded, I immediately gave the show a 7 out of 10. I definitely have dropped it to like a 6, of course, as you can see here, because again, the show hasn't aged super well. A lot of the ideas, the comedy aspects of the show are definitely outdated or at times really annoying. And given how much like the satire and the wow factor it was for the time period, I think the show just didn't really have two legs to stand on for the long term wise. Because it was definitely apparent that once they dropped the second season of Uzaki-chan a few years later, the second season, I really tried my best to give it a shot, but unfortunately, this second season, whether people loved it or hated it, I just think this second season was a huge downgrade from the first season in every way, shape, and form, and essentially just felt like, okay, we're just repeating the same things that happened for the first season onto the second season, and nothing came to it. And I think with this in mind, Uzaki-chan's popularity definitely died out as a result of the second season failing. But in the wake of this show being as big and popular as it was from the first season, we unfortunately, um, as a result, resulted in like a huge um, renaissance of teasing animes that would explode in popularity as a result. So think of it as the isekai genre, where the isekai genre blew up in popularity as a result. The teasing anime genre blew up as a result of this show being big. And you can look no further that, again, after Uzaki-chan came out in 2020, you had shows like Ijiro Night and Nakatoro-san that finally came out of the gate swinging and actually proved that it was the better, trashier show to come out that year. Also, again, Komi-san was able to finally get her legs in the anime adaptation after years and years of pushback and rumors. There's also My Senpai is Annoying, which is a show that came out from Dogokobo Studios that also, love it or hate it, was a pretty decent teasing anime show for its time. Even Call of the Night, which again may be a reach in the teasing anime genre, but if you watch this show, if you remember how the show came out back then, this show had all the aesthetics of a really good teasing anime show. Tomo-chan is a Girl, another big one. Even like the most recent shows to come out of last year, and even as of right now, have teasing anime in its DNA, and it's all because of Uzaki-chan. From The Dangers of My Heart season 1 and season 2 being the best showing of what the teasing anime genre can go to and the lengths of how it can not just be a teasing anime, but being like one of the best slice of life romance animes ever to be created. To Please Put Them on Takamina-san, which is again a show that's currently airing, but does involve a lot of teasing and a lot of weird creative aspects to make it interesting and playful. And of course, we have Can a Boy Girl Friendship Survive that has a lot of the weird teasing aspects, but trying to be playful and funny, like it was with Uzaki-chan. So again, I will I will end this video by saying that Uzaki-chan, whether people have loved it or hated it, you cannot deny that Uzaki-chan is undoubtedly one of the most influential animes to come out of the last 5 years. And I understand that a lot of people want to erase this out of the memory because of the fact that, like this show was too popular for its time or it came out at the wrong timing. I think that this show came out at probably the weirdest timing ever because again, keep in mind it came out during a time period when you had big juggernaut shows that people were wanting to talk about, and somehow 5 years later Uzaki-chan's influence cannot be ignored, and it really has shown that because of shows this big and popular and obscure, you could say the least, this show really change and shape the landscape of what was to come with the romantic comedy anime. And again, as a result, we've either gotten some really great shows that fit well in this vein, or shows that kind of just play with the same copy and paste formula that we've seen over and over again. So yeah, I just want to talk about Uzaki-chan Wants to Hangout. This is a video I've been trying to put together for some time because this is like a pretty lengthy video per se. And yeah, I just hope that you find this little rant of mine enjoyable. So yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Later.